been burned, I've been broken, still I rise, yeah, the story's been spoken. Every scar just shows what I came through. I'm stronger now, and I shine brand new. The climb was steep, but I held on tight. Step by step, I found my light. Shots fired, but I keep moving, turn the pace, steady grooving. From the ashes, I'm reaching high, altitude living, I'm touching the sky. Shots fired, but I keep moving, turn the pace, steady grooving. From the ashes, I'm reaching high, altitude living, I'm touching the sky. Not my trauma, not my chains.
Welcome back to the Rise from Ashes to Altitude, a living, breathing book tour based on my award-winning book, Shots Fired, a heroine's memoir. I'm your host, Tracy Lance, and through intimate conversations, behind-the-scenes storytelling, and powerful guest voices, we explore what it really means to rise from trauma, reclaim resilience, and turn wounds into wisdom. Each episode is a tour stop into a different part of the journey, from fire and bullets to forgiveness and elevation. Our mission is to create a space where vulnerability is honored, healing is possible, and every listener is reminded your story carries strength, your voice carries truth, and your scars are no longer wounds. They're beauty marks of survival that make you bulletproof. In our last episode, we took you to Phoenix, Arizona, a city that symbolizes rebirth, renewal, and transformation. Just like the mythical phoenix bird that rises from the ashes, stronger and more radiant than ever. And in that same spirit of rising, we also took a journey to Thailand, a trip that became a turning point in Marcy's story. Today, our journey brings us to New Orleans, Louisiana, a city that has endured storms, devastation, and loss, yet still sings, dances, and rebuilds. Its rhythm and soul, from the sweet sound of jazz echoing through the French Quarter to the strength of a people who have rebuilt time and time again. New Orleans reminds us that even after the storm, beauty, faith, and community remain. It's the perfect backdrop for today's conversation. Joining me is someone whose story embodies that same strength. Elaine Davis is a mother, a powerhouse professional with nearly 40 years in the insurance industry. But beyond the professional success is a deeply personal story of faith, perseverance, and healing. Elaine is someone whose strength has quietly inspired so many. And she's a woman whose resilience began being tested at just 9 years old, a trauma that would shape her life forever. But before we dive in, let's start with where it all began. Her childhood, losing her mother, and the life she remembers before everything changed. I'm going to welcome my guest, Elaine, to the couch to have a conversation with me. Elaine, welcome. It's so good to have you with me.
Thank you so much, Trey.
You are so beautiful.
To be here with you, and you are beautiful.
Thank
my lovely
you.
friend, Trey. I just love you. Yes, I'm glad and I'm excited to be invited to be on your journey with your book tour.
Yes.
Shots Fired. Great read. Wonderful book. So I am happy that you picked me to come and join you.
I'm honored to have you.
Thank you.
This is so fitting to have this discussion today because it's October and it's not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yes, it is.
So your story is a great backdrop to bringing the awareness to this season. But before we get off into that, I wanted to talk to you about New Orleans, since this is the setting of our discussion today.
Okay.
What do you think when you think of New Orleans?
New Orleans, it was so befitting when you said New Orleans. That's going to be our setting today. New Orleans represents to me that I can identify strength, culture, recovery, resilience.
Yes.
That's what New Orleans represents for me, that I can see myself. So, and just all the fun things there in New Orleans. The culture, where everything starts, where it was rebuilt after their devastating trauma, they came back.
Yes.
So that's what New Orleans represents for me.
So what is the main thing that you remember? Like, you last visited New Orleans, I think you said 2012.
2014.
2014.
The French Quarters.
Yes.
The restaurants, specific restaurant that stays with me, because Deanie's, oh my goodness, such good seafood.
Yes.
So the eating is really good in New Orleans. So that's what really I did, is down in the French Quarters, being down there, walking, seeing all the different things, the culture, the different fashions. It's very different.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I enjoy. Yeah.
So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Harvey, Illinois, 158th. Actually, 15822 Horn, South Horn.
You remember the address?
Yes, if anybody knows where W.W. Holt Funeral Home is,
yes.
I grew up directly across the street. The house is now kind of red and white, but it was green when I grew up in it. So directly across from W.W. Holt Funeral Home.
Wow.
Yes. So I saw W.W. Holt being built because it used to be an old pizza restaurant. So
pizza restaurant turned to funeral home.
Wow.
Wow. So you went to school, you graduated high school,
Yes.
You grew up there, everything,
Yes.
your roots, everything your family.
Right.
So
Yes.
tell us about your family. It's you and your sister?
It's me. It's me and my sister. My sister's name is Stacy. We actually grew up together. We grew up in Harvey, from leaving with my mom, then going to my grandparents. So it's just my sister and I. My family was a huge family. They're not huge anymore because everybody's just about gone.
Oh.
But I came from a big family, a very close-knit family that did everything together.
Yeah.
Partied together. Just did everything together. So I came from a very close-knit family, but also kind of separate too.
Yeah.
Because if they would get mad at one, they wouldn't speak, normal stuff.
Yeah. Yes. So just you and your sister, how close in age are you guys?
We are actually a year apart.
So very close.
Very close.
Yes. So tell us about what Elaine was like as a little girl.
Oh my goodness. As a little girl, I was a funny little girl, but an introvert, very friendly, always wanting to help someone, playful, sense of humor, caring little girl. So yeah, I consider myself, I was a good kid.
Yeah. Are you big sister or little sister?
I'm little sister.
You little sister?
I say little big sister because everyone always thought I was the oldest because of my personality. And because I always stepped in to take care of my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't met your sister, but I could completely see how you would just get in there and just be that big sister, that little big sister. I could so see you doing that. So again, we are talking about Domestic Abuse Awareness Month. We're honoring the courage of women by talking about the silent battles and that survivors carry. And we're talking about you specifically today and how you transformed your pain into power, love, legacy, and, you're mother of two daughters, Meek and Keisha, right?
Yep.
Or did I say them in the right order?
Yes.
Okay, Meek and
Keisha and Meek.
Okay, Keisha and Meek.
Yeah.
And then, so again, thank you so much for joining me today. And so I want to dive into just growing you were a single mom. So tell us a little bit of your backstory.
Okay, a little bit of my backstory. I married young, 19 years old, had my first daughter. Then 2 years later, had my second daughter. And then, of course, we was too young. We divorced. I raised my two girls. And to me, I did a good job, but I was one of those yelling mamas. But I did a good job to me. So, my girls were very quiet kids, good kids. They were good kids. They're good people.
Yeah.
To me, my daughters are very good people. So being a single mom, it was challenging, but I can't say that I was totally a single parent because although their father and I didn't stay together, we were great parents apart.
Oh, good. Great
We were
co-parents.
great co-parents. We were great parents apart because I didn't have to look for him. If I ever needed him to do something, to step in, it's right there.
Nice.
So I have to give him that credit.
Nice.
Yeah. It was tough though, but
Yeah.
I came on through it.
You just had those same challenges, those single parenthood challenges.
Yes.
With two girls, needless to say, girls to me are harder to raise than boys, but you wouldn't know about the boys part. So what were some of those challenges that you faced as being a single mom?
I always had this fear that, will I raise my girls?
Yeah.
Will I live to raise my girls?
Yes.
So I carried that fear, and it came from childhood. I said, what if something happens to me where I'm not around to raise my kids? I don't want anybody to raise my kids. So I carried that. So I taught my kids how to live without me. I taught them to be independent. I taught them about bills at an early age. I taught them about, I would have my little one balancing the checkbook.
You just, as you know, from the time you became a mom,
Yes.
that was at your top of mind. Like, how will I raise them to be able
Yes.
to handle life if I weren't in theirs?
That was at my top of my mind all the time. I was like, and to carry that burden at a young person, having kids, it's kind of tough. It seems like you never relax.
Right, because you were like early 20s,
Yes.
right?
So really, you still a kid.
Yeah.
And I carried that. I was like, oh my God. I said, but you're not in domestic violence. You don't have anybody being violent to you.
Yeah.
So why do you have this on your mind all the time? I said, just what if something happened? What if something happened to me? Just happened.
That's
So
very interesting.
that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Which brings us to, for the first, let's say 8 years of your life, everything was normal. You were just a normal little girl going to school every day,
Yes.
happy, and the way you described yourself early on. And then let's talk about what happened when you turned 9.
Let me go back to, during 8 years old, we lived with my great-great-grandmother. And that was on 55th and King Drive. We lived with her. And then about a year or two, we lived with her. And then all of a sudden, I remember my mom telling her, she said, Big Mama, I'm getting my own place. We're going to get our own place. She said, just you and the girls? And she said, no. And my stepfather's name was Wendell at the time. So she said, no, Wendell and I. So my great-grandmother said, I don't want you to do that. So my mother would say, well, it's time. I want to raise my girls, get my own place. She said, well, you can, it's nothing wrong with you being here. I have all this room. I don't want you to take the girls. And so she said, no, I'm going to go. She said, well, I think he wants you to go with
Yeah.
So she was like, well, I'm just taking my girls. So my great-grandmother was totally against it. She didn't want it. So we moved. And being kids, we jump and rope, playing constantly all the time.
Yeah.
And then when we moved to Harvey. 151st and Page, 52nd and Page around
Wow. My dad lived right there on that same street.
So we moved out there and everything was good. But he was such a jealous guy.
Yeah.
So it was like, she wasn't a lady that dressed revealing or anything.
Yeah.
She just was a very beautiful, striking woman.
Yeah.
Just looked good in her clothes and had curves and everything. So he always had something to say. So as kids, we would hear the arguing. If they've gone out somewhere to dinner or something and come back, why was he looking at you?
Mm-hmm.
And I would be saying, why does he always say that to her? So we would hear a lot of arguing and then can see fighting and it just constantly. So that went on for about a year. So coming up to the next year's being there, I remember her telling us, we're going to move. We was like, oh, we're going to move? She said, yeah, we're going to move. So are we going back to Big Mama's house? She said, no, we're getting our own place. Mm-hmm. And she said, and no, Wendell's not coming. So we were happy.
Oh,
because,
yeah. Yeah.
All this arguing and fighting is over with.
Right.
All of that, we was like, oh, good. We're getting our own place. We don't have to hear all this arguing and fighting all the time no more. So as kids, even though you think kids don't pay attention or recognize, or that.
Because this means you were at least 6 or 7 at the time. 6, 7, somewhere around there.
Yes.
So early on, where again, we think that children are not aware and they don't know what's going on.
Right.
Oh, they're just kids. They'll forget all about that.
Yes.
But you remember in such detail, vivid detail.
Yes, verbatim. I remember, and my memory is so good because, like I said, it's something you'll never get over. You just learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
So when she said that, we was like, oh God, good. We're going to have our own place. We're going to do this. And she always made our rooms so beautiful.
You share a room?
Yeah, we had a share with them twin beds with them ruffle comforters and all that, them dolls on the bed. So we always had just the cutest rooms and the cutest stuff. And she always dressed us alike and dressed us so cute. And I did my girls the same way. So that whole day, it was September 6th, we were just like, yeah, we moving. So later on that evening, he came in from wherever he was. And she was like, we're going to talk. She said, we're going to move. And when I heard him come in the door, I would wake up because I'm like, oh, he going to come in here.
Mm-hmm.
Hope it's not going to be an argument. So she told him, we're going to talk. She told him that they were going to talk. She said, we're going to move. She said, because I see my girls getting scared every time you come in. They think we're going to fight. She said, and as they're getting older, I don't want my kids to be dysfunctional.
Yeah.
With this and growing up and thinking this is normal because it's not. So he went on to say, oh, you're going to leave? He said, so you're going to leave? And she was like, yeah. He said, so, and in his mind, oh, you leaving me for somebody.
That's what he hears. Yes.
Yeah. So she was like, no, I'm leaving because this is dysfunctional. And she was a nurse. So she had a very good career and all of that. So he said, okay. So they argued back and forth. And by this time, when he went back outside, I got up and I came in the room where she was. Mm-hmm. And she had her pajamas, but really not pajamas, because she slept like in her bra and her undies and stuff like that. So she was like, it's okay. She said, go back to bed. It's okay.
So you came out because the things elevate, did it escalate?
The yelling elevate.
So then you came out just to check, make sure mom's okay. Yes. She's like, everything's fine. Just go back to bed.
Everything is fine. And he had went outside. And I was like, okay. I said, well, no, I'm not going. So when I heard the door and my sister was behind me, when I heard the door and we were in the room, she said, okay, he was like, so you gonna leave? And so I was standing there. So I grabbed her hand. I was like, I said, you need to go. As a little girl, I was like, you need to go. You scaring my mommy. You scaring me. Mm-hmm. So then as he's standing there, he has his hand behind his back. I'm not thinking, as a kid, you don't know.
Yep.
So she's saying back and forth. She was a very feisty lady. So she wasn't taking no laying down. She gonna go back and forth with you.
That's right.
You hit her, she gonna hit you back.
That's right.
And so he just came and all I felt was her hand drop. So when I looked to the side, I see all this blood. I said, what did you do? And he said, oh, I made a mistake. And he said, get a dress out the closet. Put a dress on.
You didn't even hear a gunshot?
I heard the gunshot, but it just was so, I guess I was
mute.
Yeah. When I heard the gunshot, the noise, and I said, oh, what did you, because I had never heard that before.
Yeah.
And I said, what did you do? He said, oh, nothing. I made a mistake. And I said, no. And to look over when she fell back on the bed, I saw all the blood. I said, what did you do? So he said, nothing. He said, get a dress and get a dress out the closet, put it on, and help me put it on. And so I did that. Then he said,
Not only did he do this.
Yes.
But he tried to orchestrate it where now let's clean it up.
Right.
Like it was like nothing happened.
Nothing happened. And so my ears are ringing too from the noise and that's all I could think of was, what did you do? But my ears are ringing from this noise of the gunshot. So he says, take the sheets off the bed, put them in the washer. So I did that. By this time, my sister, she had ran back to the room because she had totally went into shock. And so after I did all of that, I was standing there because that went on for about 30, 40 minutes, me running around as a little girl doing that.
Yeah.
So he picked.
So he's not concerned about what's going on with her. Is she still alive?
Right.
What's going on? All he's worried about is just cleaning up the scene.
Cleaning it up. And he kept saying, put your arm around her and see if you can hear her breathing. And I was like, I said, she's not moving. I don't hear I don't feel it. He said, she's fine though. He said, I just kind of hurt her arm. I said, no. I said, I don't know, because I looked at her arm. It was nothing, but it was blood from here, all just covered from her neck down.
The gown she had on.
All of that. So I was like, oh. I said, I don't know. I said, what did you do? You did. He said, it's okay. I just made a mistake. So after getting her in this dress, he picks her up and he takes her out. So he puts her in the car. I see him put her in the car and I see the car pull off. So after that, about 20 minutes later, me and my sister in the room, and we didn't get in the same bed. We just stared.
Yeah,
we scared.
Yes.
So someone was beating on the door. So I got up. My sister was like, I'm scared. So I got up and I said, well, I went to the door and I opened the door. They said Harvey Police. That's what they said. So I opened the door. They said, are you here by yourself? I said, yes, my sister and I are here. They said, well, we got a call from a neighbor. They heard a noise, a gunshot. And I said, yeah. I said, my mom and my stepfather, I said, he took her. I don't know where he took her to. So the police radioed, because Ingalls was like maybe a half a mile down.
Yeah, it's very close. Yep.
So that's when they said, well, do you have any family? I said, my grandparents, I know where my grandfather and grandmother live. They said, okay. They said, get your shoes or whatever, because we were in our pajamas, get a coat. And he said, do you know where they live? I said, yeah. And he asked me the address. And then I said, I don't know their address, but I know where they live. So we got with the police, we locked up, and they took us to my grandparents' house. It was like 2 a.m.
And at this point, you still don't know if your mom is living, if she had died, if you just still don't know. Matter of fact, you're so spaced out, and then your sister is just, all she could say is, I'm scared.
That's all she would say is, I'm scared. So when we got to my grandmother's house, grandparents' house, the police officer was walking us up the steps. And they rung the bell to my grandmother's, and my grandfather came to the door. And he turned. He said, "Well, where's my daughter? What are you all my grandkids?" And they said, "Well, it's been an accident, and we are trying to see what's going on." So by this time, I guess the police officer, they radioed and said a lady was brought in the ER and left, but she was DOA when she got there, and I didn't understand what that meant.
Yeah.
And so my grandmother, she didn't drive, nor did my grandfather drive. So my grandmother called my uncle, which lived down the street from my grandparents, and he came down there. He didn't have a car. So she put her coat on, and they walked to Ingalls from 158.
Is that close? Yep.
So they walked to Ingalls, and my grandmother got there, and she asked the nurse, and she said it was a white nurse. She said the lady was so mean to her. And when she came back, she was telling us what happened. And she said, it was a black girl brought in here. She was left, but she was DOA when she got here. Just like that.
Yep.
So my uncle said, my grandmother fainted because she was like DOA, So then when they came back to the house, my grandfather was waiting and we were waiting. It was like maybe about 8 a.m. when they got back to the house. So we were waiting to see what was happening, and all I could hear was the screaming and noise.
And which is your grandmother,
grandfather. Then all my aunts started coming because it was like my mom, it was 11 of them.
Yep. So, that's a huge family.
Yes.
Yep.
So all of them started coming over, and I was like, what's going on? So when my dad came, I said, what's going on? So my dad was real upset. And then they sat us down and explained to us, that she wouldn't be coming back. So at that point, I felt like, oh my goodness, what's going on? What's happening? My whole little life changed.
You still didn't really understand and grasp what was going on. Everybody's crying around you. Everybody's saying she's not coming back, but you still at
Didn't
just
understand.
9, a tender 9-year-old.
Trying to figure out what they mean she's not coming back. So she's not coming back. So when my dad explained it, I said, oh. And then at that point, I began to cry.
Yeah.
So my sister, she was just like, couldn't say anything. I think my sister went quiet for, I want to say maybe 2 months, 2 or 3 months. She went quiet. So at that point, my grandfather, the police came back to the house and they said, we need you to bring these kids in because we caught him in her car. She had a brand new car that she only drove for 30 days.
So do you know what he did with her? Did he just drop her off?
Just took her
and
to,
just left?
just
He
left.
just
took her into Ingalls emergency room and just left. Later on the chairs or whatever they had and left.
and took her car.
And was in her car. And they caught him coming out at the end of Ingalls parking lot in her car. That's where they caught him at. And when they brought him, because they had arrested him and everything, and then when they brought us in the next day to say, we want to know what happened.
Right.
So we told them. Well, I told them.
Yeah, because you're from the point at the emergency room, you, your sister, the entire family's there. That's at the point your sister
Couldn't
from
say
the
anything.
point they said your mother is not coming back, she just went quiet.
She went quiet from the noise. When we were at the house, she went quiet. And all she could say was, I'm scared. But
That was the
after-
last word. Those were the last
Yes.
2 words you heard her say.
was, I'm scared. And then after they told her she's not coming back, she just didn't say nothing. I want to say maybe a 2 or 3 month span. She was just quiet. And with my family, just to see them come apart like that.
Mm-hmm.
My mother's sisters, her brothers, because they were all close. And they were trying to figure out, did she call us, during the night to tell us something was going on?
Yep.
Because her brothers would have came right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they were trying to figure out, did she call me to see what's something going on? Because I would have came. But she didn't call them.
Yeah.
I think she called one of my aunts and told my aunt.
Because from the way that it sounds, she had in her mind, we're moving.
Yeah.
I'm about
It's
to start a
over with.
clean slate. We're leaving. I'm taking my girls. We're out of here. She didn't think that it would take a turn for the worse it did. She couldn't even fathom that.
Exactly. And this is something that he did constantly, though. This was like 3rd or 4th time he pulled a gun on her. But
Oh, so he had a gun. He
Yeah.
had he was always had a violent
Yes.
streak.
Right.
And would pull the gun out just to scare her.
Just to scare her. And I guess she really thought, here we go again.
Right.
This is not,
So that's probably why there's no calls. No, this wasn't anything
Yes.
new to her.
My one aunt was saying, I talked to her and she told me what her plans were. And I told her, look, why don't you just go on and leave and don't tell that man you're going. Wait till he go to work and just don't. She said, no, I'm not doing that this time. She said, I'm going to tell him. She said, because this is done. She said, we're not. And so my one aunt was saying, well, call me if you need me.
Yep.
Call me and I'll be over there. So my aunt was trying to figure out, did she call me back? And I just didn't answer because this is like 12 midnight, 1, 2 in the morning.
Right. This is still ongoing through the night.
Yeah. So she was like, she didn't call me or did she call me? And you didn't have call ID
Yeah,
back
no,
then.
you sure
so
didn't.
Everybody's trying to figure out, did I not hear my phone ring? Did I
Right.
not hear her call me? Did she call me? So everybody went through just a whole different trauma because they're thinking, this is my sister. Did she call me? Did she need me? And I wasn't there.
Yep.
So it kind of like shattered our family a lot because that was the first tragic incident in our family.
So after that, you and your sister ended up where?
With my grandparents.
So your mom's mom.
My mom's parents. Yes.
Your mom's parents.
Yes.
So you and your sister ended up you go from thinking you were moving and with mom and starting this happy life because you were with your grandparents at first. Then you moved and then you just moved back to where you were familiar with?
No, this was my grandparent, my mother.
Oh, okay.
We were with my great grandmother. It was just her. We were with my great grandmother before we moved to Harvey. So we lived with my great grandmother.
Okay. And
then grandparents, my mother's parents. Yes.
So what happened? Like, what was life like for you after that? I mean, it's so hard to imagine you being put in this situation where not only are you trying to reconcile the death of your mom in your arms, it sounded like,
yes,
but you were forced to clean up her blood. You were forced to put a gown on her.
Yes, a dress.
And get her dressed. And not put her in the car. He carried her to the car. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing you know, you're in the emergency room. Your whole entire family's there. You find out that I'm never going to see my mom again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Elaine, this is so hard for me to just wrap my head around how I see you sitting here now.
Right.
And I think we've known each other for,
oh my goodness, 5-6 years,
maybe
now?
5 or 6 years now.
Yes.
But there is no way I could have ever, looking at you, like that hole you show don't look like what you've been through.
Yes.
Is so true because you stand as a woman of strength.
Yes.
What got you through that?
And after that, I can remember going to this new school. I went to Emerson Elementary on 150 Wood Street. I know down from Wasso's.
Yep.
So I remember going to this new school. I was like, oh my goodness, these are new people. But I knew some of the kids in the neighborhood because when I would come to my grandparents' house, like some weekends or my mom would stop by, it was a lot of kids in the neighborhood and they would always see us and they would always come and say, oh, can they come out? And so I knew those kids already. So I went to the school and I just felt like this is different.
Yeah.
It was just
different good or different. This is not my cup of tea.
It was different good.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of like some of the kids I was familiar with. And to me, if a kid is going to a new school and they're not familiar with anybody, it's harder.
Right.
So that was good because some of the kids I already knew. So they were willing to, we'll walk them to school. They would come wait for us. So we had a lot of support with the kids that were in our neighborhood. And so that was good.
Yeah. What was it like for you, as a teenager? Like you just go on through life. You start off at a new school.
Yes. Meeting
new friends. And then is that on your mind constantly? How are you affected by that? Like after you started this new school, how are you affected by?
And then when we started the school, now keep in mind, trial hadn't started yet. So I'm in the third grade, around third grade, going into fourth. So my grandparents would come to the school and say, hey, they have to be out of school this week. So, and I remember they asking my grandfather, well, how long will they be out? They said, well, we don't know. And they told the principal and everything what had happened. And they said, this could go on for a month. This could go on for 2 months. We don't know how long this trial will go on. So we went to Markham Courthouse. Every day.
Every day,
yes.
Elaine?
It was like every day we would go into Markham Courthouse with this trial when the trial started. So to sit there, when they did the evaluation, they said, well, this older one can't. She's not going to be able to do or talk like this younger one. They said this younger one is very, very articulate. So they said, we'll put her on the stand and let her testify. So I did that. So what the judge did, I never forget what that judge did. He said, don't put her right there. Bring her up here where I am.
Like around where the judge's chambers, well, not the chambers, but where he's sitting up higher, and then you have the two sides.
Right.
So you were up there with him.
He said, bring her up here. And he said, I want her to stand next to me. And he told me to turn around, look at him, and don't look out there at him. So I said, okay. He said, now I'm going to ask you some questions and you tell me if you understand them. He said, do you know what it means to lie? I said, well, yeah. I said, because my mom told me you don't lie because you can get in trouble.
Right.
And he said, always tell the truth. So he said, okay. He said, now, do you know why you're here? I said, yeah, I know why I'm here. He said, okay, I want you to tell your story and tell what happened, word from word. He said, and nobody's going to bother you. You're right here with me. So I did. And then they would just bring me around because I was real tiny, short at 9.
Were you?
I was so short at 9. So they would bring me back around, bring me down and let me sit with my family. And I remember my grandfather could never stay in the courtroom when he would hear the details.
Yep.
He would scream and they would say,
Yeah,
he
you
had
have
to
to
leave
go.
out.
Yeah.
So he could never sit through it. So he would just sit outside and wait. My dad was there through the whole thing with me, so I felt safe.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about, yeah. And then just life just went on.
Yep.
My sister and we had I want to say a good life as far as whatever we wanted, they gave it to us.
Everything.
Everything.
Yes.
So we were not kids that didn't have
Yep.
or went without.
Yep.
We never did.
Yep.
So I can say that part. And my grandfather said he did that because he didn't want us to remember the hurt.
Wow.
So, yeah. So childhood after that, was good as far as that.
Right.
But far as mentally thinking
Yep.
about that, I carried that every day.
Every single day.
So you never get over it. Like I always say, you just learn how to deal with it.
Yep. Yeah.
That's it.
So any therapy, any counseling for you and your sister?
No, back in those days, them grandparents, people that was from Mississippi said, "Oh no, we don't need. You can't be talking to nobody.
Yep.
No counseling.
Yep.
We gonna pray.
Yep.
They gonna
Get
be
the
all right.
Bible.
Get that Bible.
Yep.
We gonna pray. That Bible that sit on that cocktail table.
Yep, that's right. Get that
We
Bible.
gonna pray.
Yes.
So no, as when I got in my adult years, I did. I went, to counseling. And I did that because I was like, I carried this all the time. What if I'm not here to raise my kids?
And I wanted to bring that up because when you said that earlier, I wanted to tie that into what you witnessed with your mom as the reason why you reared your daughters
Yes.
in a way where I have to prepare them for life without me.
Yes.
Is this like, I wanted to ask you about some of the ways that witnessing your mom's death affected you even into adulthood as a mom. And outside of that being, that's huge where you are making literal preparations
Right.
for your daughters to live life without you. They didn't understand. They didn't know where that came from.
Not at all. They didn't.
Wow.
They didn't understand it. All they knew was, oh, she's strict. Oh, she's hard. To them, I probably was harsh because like I said, I was a yelling mama.
Yeah.
I yelled.
Yeah.
I had structure.
Yeah.
And to them, they thought they couldn't be kids, I think.
Yeah.
By me being so, no, you have to do this. You got to make sure you do this. You got to make sure you do that. So I think my trauma projected on them.
Exactly.
You got to not being a kid.
Because your childhood pretty much stopped at 9.
At 9.
That arrested development thing. We're like, from the point of you being traumatically impacted in your life, nothing kind of moves forward normally after that.
Right.
So since I'm thinking like maybe because you just lost your sense of childhood at 9, you are preparing them like, no, at 5, at 6, at 7, you need to know how to do this. if you lose me at 9, like I lost my mother
Right.
and then do you realize that those are some of the things that impacted you and affected you from witnessing your mom's death?
Yes.
Like, and then that's how it transferred over into how you were a parent to your daughters.
Yes.
So instead of taking on, but you also did do that. Like your mom made decorated your rooms
Yes.
beautifully.
I did all
You
of that.
did all of that still. But then on the opposite end of that, you were teaching your daughters to be responsible, respectful. You got to grow up. You got to know how to balance your checkbook.
And they thought that was fun. They was like, "Oh, we're gonna balance." And I would be saying, "No, you got to make sure you do this right," And they're looking like, "What?
Yeah.
I'm a kid. I don't work. You work." And so and that comes from I projected on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt I had to be an adult as far as talking to all these adult people.
Yeah.
During this time.
Yeah.
I had to take up in a grown-up's role, like tell
That's
them,
right.
look, this is what happened. This is what he did. So I felt like, oh my goodness. And my mother we were already trained kids as far as cleaning and as far as how to keep things clean.
Yeah, when you raised it with by your great grandmother and your grandmother.
So these things were already instilled in me anyways, but I didn't realize until after I got therapy and growing up that I projected that off on my kids.
Yeah.
And they really didn't understand it.
Do they understand it now?
Now they do. Because they said, "Mom, because I never told them when they were little what happened to my mom because I felt like they were so young and that it would be too painful."
Mm-hmm.
So I never would tell them. I said, "My mom is just deceased." And they would just be like, well, why is she deceased? And I said, "I'll tell you when you get old enough." And like your friend said when we were on the last one, when they ask, they are.
Yeah.
So when I told them, they were just like, wow, they didn't know. So they kind of somewhat understood. Now they understand. And my youngest daughter really understands.
Yeah.
So she said, "I understand why my mom is so stern and why she always says, no, this has to be in order.
Yes.
No, you have to make sure this is done. No, make sure because you may not have a chance to do it again."
Right.
So now she understands.
Elaine, if you could go back and have a conversation and hold that little 9-year-old's hand and look her in her eyes and talk to her, what are some of the things that you would tell that little girl?
I would tell that little girl that it's okay to be a kid, that it's okay to be scared, that it's okay not to be brave as a kid. Just enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would tell her.
Man.
And I would tell her everything is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you did eventually end up going to therapy and trying to kind of reconcile with the traumatic experience that you had, did you find that it was helpful to you even in the span of all of these years that had gone by before you even had anybody to even talk to about it?
Yes, it was very helpful. So I'm big on mental health.
Yeah.
I'll tell anybody, if you have all of us have some type of traumas.
Yes.
And I'll tell anybody, and I tell people all the time, especially women, get your mental health checked.
Yep.
Find a counselor, find somebody you trust, talk to them where you can be your authentic self and be honest.
Right.
I said, because a lot of times we carry weights.
Yep.
And we don't know why. And certain things, it'll show up in a trigger.
Yeah.
Someone triggers something, it'll show up. And I'm big on that.
Yes.
So when I went and I decided to go get help or, just a counselor, because I wanted to know why if someone made me angry, I would get real angry.
Right.
So I said, man.
And then that was along with the yelling.
Yes.
As a mom. And some things you look back on, you yell about it and say, that wasn't even
necessary for me to yell about.
Right. And then like the little triggers, even with me and my traumas, I would just get I would go from 0
me too.
to 20 in like
in a second.
Yes.
And then when I look back, I was like, girl, why did you was going?
Yes.
You would get that angry. And then I thought about it. I said, you know what? You were carrying something that you really needed to get out, that you felt like everybody had buried,
Yes.
and not looking at you and your sister saying, they witnessed this.
Yes.
They'll never get over this. They'll just learn how to deal with it. And everybody's going about their day to day, and they're forcing us to do so.
And then not talking about it.
Right.
You know,
not
even
talking
when
about
a lot of times when we want to cry or express our feelings and emotions, the older generation, oh, get over it.
Right.
You ain't got no problems.
Exactly.
You'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly. Because I remember sometimes I would just start crying. I'll be 11, 12, 13 years old. And my grandmother would say, what are you crying about now?
Exactly.
And I would be saying,
yes.
And then I got to saying, I don't know.
Yes.
But really, I knew what I was crying about, but I said, I'm not going to say anything to her because it might hurt her.
But your voice was suppressed.
Yes.
Because now, even when I cry or express my emotions, I don't even know if it's the right thing to do, if I should be doing this, if it's okay to have these emotions without feeling like I should be ashamed of myself or I shouldn't be. You shouldn't be crying. You got a great life. You get everything you want.
And that's what they would say a lot of times. Like, what are you crying for? You got this, you got that. Look at this. A lot of kids don't have this and don't have that. And I be saying, what? What you mean? I don't have, they got a mother. They got this. I don't have that. So a lot of times when I would begin and I felt like I wanted to cry, I would go off by myself.
Yeah, and be alone.
So I didn't have, and that's where I think my introvert really came in.
Yeah.
And I'm alone. I'm a loner now.
Yeah.
It's because of that.
Yeah.
So I think
that's another one of those things that you find when you are living it. You live your day to day, everything's normal. But what are those things that you find affects you?
Yes.
Because of the trauma you experienced. Like even as a wife, as a mom, you a lot of times we feel like I can't express my emotions.
Yes.
Even in front of your husband.
Exactly.
In front of your children, because they look at you like you this strong person.
I'm this strong person, like, and that's how they look at me. Oh, she's strong. Oh, she don't have no tears. She don't cry. I ain't never seen her cry.
Yeah.
And I think they look at it like, oh, she'll be all right.
Yeah.
They never look at, I'm soft. I'm a softie too, but I don't. My family, all of them look at it like, no, she don't. She don't cry. She tough.
Yeah,
she's tough. So she don't have a care in the world, and everyone looks at me like that.
Yes,
and then a person that's first meeting me, they look. She didn't have a care in the world. She had a perfect life.
Yes, she had a perfect life,
and that's how I'm looked at all the time.
So 39 years on this job.
And they abused me.
Elaine, do you feel like being on this job for 39 years, do you think that that's somewhat of a safety net for you?
I think it was accomplishment. And I think it is a safety net for me because being disciplined at that young age.
Yes.
With two small children.
Because you're only 39, right?
Oh, yes. Going to a job, major company, and on time every day. Wow. Never late. 2 little kids. And to do that my young years, because at being a young person, we're not that disciplined when we're 19, 20 years.
No.
I was disciplined, and I felt like I always prided myself on structure.
Yes.
And doing the right thing.
Yes.
So I think that's why I was able to do that, because I programmed myself that this is what you have to do. And it was more so something that was normal for me at that time. So I think that's why I was able to do it.
Yeah. Because that's hard to believe, to make a commitment.
Yes.
That's a level of a commitment that I can't even wrap my head around. You have dedicated 40 years coming up.
Yes.
This year.
Yes.
Elaine. And then how long are you planning on staying there?
I just want to do about 2 more years if God say the same. And if God says, I'm going to make them give you a package. Yes, I'm here for it.
Yes.
But that's what my plan is, 2 more years. I'm done. I don't care what's not done. I'm done in 2 years with this job. I want to do get up when I get ready, do some things I want to do,
Yes.
that's going to be happy for me, that
Yes.
makes me feel good. That's what I want to, and not be on a schedule.
Yes.
Saying, oh, I got to get home. I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
I got to get up and go to work in the morning. I got to do this. I can't do this because I got to be at work. So I want to be able to see how it feels.
Freedom.
Yes.
What
To
would
be free.
what would people be surprised to learn about you?
That I'm soft. that I'm really not as hard as I appear to be.
Yeah.
That I'm a very caring person.
Yeah, the teddy bear.
Yeah, that
I will give you the shirt off my back.
I will give you the shirt.
Yes.
That I'm a real kind person.
And I can attest to that.
Yes.
I definitely
So,
can attest to that.
I think people look at me as being a strong, hard person.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and that I cry with the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
I don't think people know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. My kids, if they heard that, they would fall out on the floor and pass out like, no, that's not her.
Right.
That's not my mom saying that. So,
Elaine,
yeah.
what's next for you? Okay, let's say what's next for you after corporate?
Well, after corporate, first of all, I'm just going to take it in, feel the freedom, go to some places I want to go. I want to go to Italy. I want to go to Dubai. So these are some things that I want. Ghana. Those are three places I want to go. That's on my bucket list.
Yes.
When I retire.
Yes.
So when I go, I don't have to worry about, I got to get back to work.
Yes.
I can really relax and let my hair down and say, hey, I'm on vacation. I'm enjoying this.
Yes.
Not having in the back of my mind, I got to get back and get to this job.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I want to do. And then just have the freedom of, if someone needs for me to pray for them, they want me to come where they are. I just want to be able to do that.
You want to be a prayer warrior?
Yes.
You want to just go around praying
Yes.
for people?
Yes.
Is writing a book anywhere in your near future at all?
I never thought of it until you told me you need to do this. I never even had that in my mind.
And not just me.
A bunch of people have told me that.
Especially your daughter. I
Yes.
think she gave you a gift.
She did. She gave me a gift, and it's a book. And it says, I want to know everything about you.
Wow.
And I didn't know they had books like that. And she said, I want this book filled up. She said, especially when you retire, that's what you got to do is write.
Yes.
So I never thought about it. And then I had my friend Wanda, she told me, she said, if you wrote a book, it'd be a bestseller. She said, don't you understand? She said, because when we see our friend, we're like, that's my friend. And she is together. She said, nobody would ever know that you had to go through that. She said, we know because we're close to you. She said, but anybody else just seeing you walk through a door, they would not know this.
No.
So I said, no, I don't know if I want to write a book. And
I already know the title. If you decide to write a book, I will not tell you, but I already know a perfect title for your book.
And so I was telling my friend Wanda that I said, my friend Trey said, you need to write this book. It's in you. And she said, you need to write this book. And then I have another close friend, Rebecca. I have several, Markeisha.
Mm-hmm.
They've said it too. They was like, wow, you wouldn't know it.
So you have to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Elaine, this was so good. This was so good. This is just an example of your story being a reminder that our scars don't define us.
Yes.
We don't have to look like what we've been through.
Right.
Our stories really they shape the depth of who we become in life. And I do always think that it's a choice. We could either let our traumas define who we become in life, or we can take our pain and turn it into purpose.
Yes.
And we could use those traumas to give back, to help others who may not be as strong as we are.
Right.
So again, we always say how we could take this show on the road.
Yes.
How, just going around and talking to women about, how they can find themselves on the other side of that pain.
Yes.
And again, going back to this being domestic Abuse Awareness Month. If you could say anything to somebody's out there hiding or scared or afraid or just don't know what else to do, what would you say to them?
My advice to a person, to any woman or man experiencing domestic abuse, and domestic abuse is not always physical. It can be mental.
Yes.
Gaslighting.
Yes.
All these things, that's abuse. Silent treatment, that's abuse.
Yes.
Those are things that when a person, narcissism, if you dealing with a narcissist, they can be very abusive.
Yes.
So my thing, what I would tell them is recognize it. Know that it's always not physical. And get out. Mm-hmm. Make up in your mind to get out, because there are several, you can get help just about anywhere now for this. Back in the 70s, no, you couldn't. So though that would be the advice, get out, find somebody to talk to that you trust, make someone aware what you're going through.
Yeah.
Seek help.
I like the fact that your mom did talk to her sisters.
Yes.
So, some people knew what was going on.
Right.
So she did make some people aware of what was going on. A lot of times people are just quiet. They don't want anybody to know what's going on. They want to hide and be silent. But that's a great point you made. Just say something to somebody.
Yes.
There's always somebody out there who wants to help.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Elaine, it was such an honor to have you here with me. Thank you for bringing us your light, your truth, for being vulnerable, for coming and adding your voice to this conversation.
Thank you.
Much, much, much needed. A lot of times people still want to be mute. They still want to go and take their traumas and keep it all in.
Yes.
And continue to be affected by it.
Yes.
But I appreciate so much you taking the time to come and talk to us and join in on the conversation and just allowing us inside of your story. I hope to one day see your book on the bookshelf.
And I'm gonna keep that in mind. Trey, I want to thank you for inviting me, for giving me the opportunity to come on your podcast and talk to you, because I read your book and I bought several for other people to read. Because the book is just amazing. It's good. And then just to be, for you bringing me into your world with your sister and your children, they beautiful and great kids.
Yes.
So I just thank you for that, and just making me feel welcome and giving me that authentic friendship. Like
Elaine, I love having you in my life.
Thank you. And I love having you in my life.
Yes, I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Too.
Yes.
And you allow me to be my authentic self. And that's what I love so much. So thank you, Trey, and I love you.
You are most welcome,
and I love Marcy. I love Marcy very much. And my little Michaela too. Yes, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine. Yes. To our listeners, if you or someone you know is affected by domestic violence, please know that help and hope exist. You are not alone. Until next time, keep walking your path with courage, grace, and determination. Thank you for always giving yourself the gift of exploring what it really means to survive, to heal, and to rise. Let's take this journey, keep traveling, and rise together.
Struggle into